Um, Ogara people are global speaking ethnic people. We have a very enviable history of Urhobo people. We are the gateway from Edo into Urhobo axis, pass through Edo down here. And history has it too that we came from Agbara people and migrated down here so hundreds of years back. We are basically farmers, and with time, Ogara people have grown to delve into other areas of life. As growth come about, we have industrial setup that developed. Started with timber. After farming, we had timber. Timber exploration was very, very prominent some years back. And with the advent of political era, Ogara was able to produce a governor of Delta State, and that upturned the developmental exposure of Ogara. New roads were made, and this attracted more development. We are blessed with the River Ethiopia that opened into the ocean, and we had a special asset in that area, and in the sense that we can take ships into our territory, and that has opened way for vessels that can bring fuel, diesel into our territory, and that led to the advent of tank farms in the territory. And with these tank farms, development has come up too, because with its own challenges too, anyway. And today we have several tank farms in Ogara. Before then, of course, we have tertiary institutions that sprung up too. We have the teaching hospital, we have a university, we have a polytechnic. These are in addition to basic commercial institutions of banking institutions that are also well established here. Ogara today has become a commercial city, so to say, and you can get so many things here. It is of note that before now, we had a fishing trawler company, but they've gone down the drain. These are part of the developmental stages we had in Ogara. And like I've told you, the timber company about disappeared because of the vicissitude of time. And this is basically because the economy of Nigeria has gravitated from timber into petroleum. And petroleum is now into. In the past, timber used to be a major export of Nigeria. And Ogara played a prominent role in the export of timber through the Sapele River. We had ships that came in there. As development, as necessity, things have changed. Ogara people have become very, very enlightened. Many of them are now graduates. In the past, we can count the number of graduates in those days. But with the development, many of our children have gone to school. We have so many well-educated people. We have professors. We have all the fields people of prominence in the field. Accountancy field, engineering. We are happy as a kingdom of having a good share of this type of professional. We are blessed, so to say. If you look at our history, we had the first king, but due to political interregnum, the first king, which was Orefe first, ruled for many years, but there was interregnum that we didn't have king for a long while until the 19th century. Another king came, which is Orefe first. Orefe said real rule. Then we had Oreki second, who also ruled, and today we are having Orefe third, who is myself. And I thank God there has been peace in the kingdom, and we enjoy good relationship from all visitors that have come here, because Ogara is a community that is open to everybody. Stranger come, we welcome strangers. We do not discriminate. We believe that Nigerians as well, we are all brothers and sisters. If you want to set up industry here in Nigeria, in Ogara, we welcome you. We make things very easy for people. And that's why you see so many firms owned by foreigners that are here. This goes to tell you that we have a robust mind to attract investors. So if you want to come and invest in Ogara, be rest assured that you have a peaceful environment where your investment will thrive. That is a nutshell of what we have in Ogara. Like every kingdom and community, there is a basic way people govern themselves. Apart from political structure of government, whereby you have the local government, now our presidential system, local government and state government, and the federal. Ogara, like every other community and kingdom, have their own structure of governance. At the peak of the governance is the king, coincidentally I'm the king. And Ogara has two sub-clans. In other words, we have two sub-clans merged together to form the kingdom. We have Ogareki sub-clan and Ogarefe sub-clan. These come together to form Ogara Kingdom. And just to tell you how this sub-clan played their role, when I was introducing the past king, I told you of Orefe and Oreki, and that is how the kingdom is made up of two sub-clans. You have the Oreki clan and Orefe clan. The two come together. And the kingship rotates between Oreki and Orefe. Orefe and Oreki. When is the turn of Orefe? They produce a king, and that king will for life. And then the next time Oreki will come. So when Oreki rule for his lifetime, the next one will come from Oreki. That's how the rulership of this kingdom are. Having said about the king, we have a second in command to the king who you call Iyasere. Iyasere is next to the king. And after the king, we come to the Iyasere. And the way Iyasere is selected in the kingdom is so that when a king comes from Orefe ruling house, Iyasere comes from the Oreki ruling house, and vice versa. And that's how it is. Now, the two people are in front, and the next echelon of traditional rulers are the sub-clans. You have the Unugrogodo of Ogadefe, and Unugbogodo of Ogariki. These are the line of authority after the king and the Iyasere. We have Unugbogodo of Ogariki, and after Unugbogodo of Ogariki, he has lieutenants who we call Nuevolos. Nuevolos are next to the Unugbogodo. And after the Unugbogodo, we also have a very important person who is sort of person who stands to bless the sultan, who we call the Ikpe, the oldest man. He wields a very important role and influence. We respect him. The Ikpe is the oldest man. He's taken as somebody who comes to the Ogbejo and also has a role to play. He blesses, in most cases, his function is to bless people. And at times, to be called to do certain functions, depending on how intelligent that Ikpe is. Because with age, memory fails people. So you cannot repose much confidence on most Ikpes. Most Ikpes, they are old, but they have an important role to play because they see them as a father and they bless the kingdom. So after Ikpe, we also have other high chiefs, traditional chiefs who become senior chief according to when they took the chieftaincy title. So they sit also according to the time they took their chieftaincy title. The earlier you took your chieftaincy title, you now become senior to order. So we have it. Apart from the chief, we also have the Notus and the Tota. These are the people who work behind the chief to make sure things move well. Security-wise and administrative-wise, we use them to settle certain issues in the economy, in the kingdom. They have special role to play. That time we send them message, some errand. When we have some challenges, we send the Otuta and the Notus on errand. So after the Notus, of course, we have the general people we call Egweya and Igele. These are the other general people. So with that, we will have an occasion, we have roles assigned to these people. And the two sub-clans, they have what we call Ogbejo. Ogbejo is the traditional house where they carry out proceedings of the economy every 8 days. Every 8 days they hold the Ogbejo. And through development, these two Ogbejo these days are brought together by taking the headship and some other chiefs. They come together and every once in a month they come to the palace to deliberate on the welfare of the kingdom. Any challenges, any good things coming, how we do it. The two Ogbejo representatives come to the palace, and that's how we discuss issues pertaining to the kingdom to see how the kingdom can tackle problems and move forward. So somehow our administrative system is very sound and is working perfectly. You will remember, we will note that in Urhobo, Urhobo is a tribe that has multiple kingdoms, and historically they are brought together through the UPU, Urhobo Progress Union. That has been a formidable umbrella under which all Urhobo kingdoms come under for unity. The Urhobo people are united under the umbrella of the Urhobo Progress Union. And every kingdom Urhobo is a member of the UPU, Urhobo Progress Union. And of course, the kings are part and parcel of the Urhobo Progress Union. They, in their own wisdom, oversee the UPU. The President General reports to the Council of Urhobo Traditional Ruler. And the way the UPU work is this. They have their own members elected in the general election. and they have council of representatives. Also, this council of representatives, they take people from the various kingdoms into Yoruba Progress Union. A key person of the Yoruba Progress Union is the President General of each kingdom. Each kingdom's President General is automatically a member of the Yoruba Progress Union. And the function of the President General of the kingdom is to liaise between the UPU and the kingdom. Where there are information, it flows directly first from the UPU through the representative of, that is through the President General of each kingdom to the kingdoms. The President General reports directly to the king. Where there is anything that needs action, the President General, when he comes back from the UPU, comes to the king, we discuss it. If it has to boil down to the chiefs, the council of chiefs, we do it. So in other words, the President General of each kingdom is a special link between each kingdom and Yoruba UPU, which is the body supervising the whole Yoruba nation. And that's an important aspect of the function of the President General. Ogara Kingdom is made up of several communities, but somehow we have ruling houses which we look onto as the quarters that we see are units in the kingdom. We have two sub-clans, Oreki and Orefe, and each of them have some number of ruling houses. Orefe has 5 ruling houses, while Oreki has 2 ruling houses. And administratively, at times they look onto these ruling houses for administrative purpose. Like in Orefe, they have 5 ruling houses, and they sometimes divide their function according to the ruling houses. I know in Oreki ruling houses too, they further have division into about 6 and 7 and 5, or 6 and 5 communities. Is it 6 and 5? Or 11, or 12? 11. 11. So they have 11 set up under the 2 ruling houses. But Orefe, they keep their 5 ruling houses, and they didn't have subdivision into other districts, and that's how they work. But Oreki, the 2 ruling houses are further divided into 5 divisions, and it's been working for everybody perfect. We have 2 major festivals, apart from the one we hold every 5 years or 10 years or 25 years. 25 years. We have in the 2 sub-clans, we have the first one is Iyeri. Iyeri is the lighter one. Ole comes in. After Ole, we have Iyeri. And these 2 communities celebrate it differently. And at times, people from one sub-community go to the other to celebrate, and the other one go to this one. Traditionally, Ogarefe celebrates their own festival before that of Ogareke. And when it's the time for Ogarefe to celebrate, to see people coming from Ogareke to do the celebration. Vice versa, when Ogareke is celebrating, we go there. And it's always a wonderful occasion, especially the Iyeri, which is done mostly in December. It's a very, very important event in this kingdom, and we celebrate it with pomp and pageantry in every year.
What does it symbolize?
The celebration symbolizes a way to appease the gods, bring peace. We cleanse any bad omen things that have happened in the past. We clean it, we pray for it to go up, and we come to a new year that will ask for progress and peace from God. And that's it. It's to ask for peace and cleanse our unclean area in the kingdom, we remove them and ask for prayer for good things to come. That's what we do with the festival. History has it that they have name of people that founded this thing. We have written documents over it. I don't want to misquote myself, but I have it, but these things are there documented. So if you want the history, we have a history written about it. People who originated here, they started from Ogariki area and they migrated to Ogariki. That is the history we have. Yes, like every other community, we have challenges of criminals. In the past, I know it is not my own people, we have a number of criminals coming to perpetrate all sorts of robbery, kidnapping in Ogara. But today, with the action taken by the Traditional Council in collaboration with the police, the army, we have been able to reduce this crime. Apart from crime, we had challenges in developmental areas. Our son tried for us, but subsequent government we asked them to come and improve the roads. Because some of the roads done during the time of our son in police, we needed more roads. Because with the growth of a kingdom, there's need to create more access roads. Recently, the Ogara Traditional Council has, in its own wisdom, gone to open areas and try to create roads in them. But we don't have the resources to create this road. So we're looking forward to the government to see how they can create this road, which we have taken pain to mark out by our own effort. So education-wise, we need people to give our children scholarship. We are trying our own best to do this scholarship of a thing, but like you know, we can never have enough. Most of our children these days are now enlightened. They go to school. We have challenges of people who need a school fee. We're doing our little best, but we need more people to give our children scholarship so that they can get more distance. Medically, we have medical institutions going on very well. We are blessed with 2 hospitals here, but like you know, medical challenges is a thing that you can never have enough of it. You can never solve it. We need more people, the government to try and help us medically to see that they give people free medical, because the income in this Nigeria is very low. So we need government to assist us medically and equip these hospitals we have too, because the hospital serve the whole of Delta State, and the competition is there. It's not only for Ogara. So everybody has access to the teaching hospital. So to say, since we have the teaching hospital, we need government to take good care of it, so that we, who is hosting the hospital, will have the benefit. I've told you, the school we have here, we need people to patronize the school. We have the university here. It's a private university, and admission has been a challenge to them because there are so many private universities now. But this one is unique in itself, that is well established, and the courses are core courses, and the school fees is cheap. So we want people to come to the school and patronize it, so that the more students we have in the school, the better it is for us. And we also ask the government, like our tank farm here is serving so many people. And in most cases, this trailer, they always spoil the road. I'll be very happy if the government can help us to reconstruct this road. The road was built by us, our own self-effort. We have also used it. And this tank farm serves so many places, serve the whole Delta State and beyond. The tank farm serves Delta State and beyond. And what we need is to see that we do this road. And of course, we've been very careful to take care of the tank farm so that it doesn't explode. and we'll be having training with our people, and the companies are also doing their own training to make sure that being a volatile area, we do our best to safeguard the community. This is very, very important. Yeah. In the past, the two of Gwedio, before we had king, they are the people that take care of the land. Our system is communal land, in the sense that the land belongs to the community. And if anybody foreigner comes to take this land, you only take it for a while, and at the time of your expiry, it revert back to the community. We have major land owned by community and land owned by individual. When we started, the whole land was vested in Ogwejo, like I said. But today, most of the land has been acquired by individuals, and government have also acquired a portion of it. But we still have land owned by the community. And recently, we are trying to change this system so that there will be formal good control over this land. Recently, some people sold our land without thorough approval of the entire community. It was a very big problem, to the point that we have to sanction some of these leaders who sold this land. And we are trying to put in place a system that there will be control of land, both by the king and the Ogwedio. The last resolution taken for Ogarifi is that before any land is sold, the king must be aware of it, so that to have safeguard. Ogariki was doing it before, when we had the king that came from Ogariki. But we are trying to harmonize it in our next traditional council, that all land to have a better control. After the Ogwedio have dealt with it, they must bring it to the king for final signature. That's what we are doing. So somehow the Ogwedio control the king and report to the king. That is the new system. Unlike before, they leave the king out. So, but their land belonging to individuals. Those lands belonging to the individual that give it to them. But individuals selling land to company up there, there's a way the land tenure system that once a company comes in, the company will compensate the primary owner. But then the Ogwedio or the kingdom will still have their own control, in the sense that they pay royalty to the Ogwedios and the kingdom. So that's the new development we are getting. So the tenure system is very, very, very nice. And the Ogwedios and the king is coming together now to protect this land from being dealt with by illegal people selling it without the knowledge of the kingdom. So that is the system. We have some tourist area in the sense that our river bank is a very special area where you can have warm water and clean water. In the past, when Europeans were here, they go to our river bank and enjoy good swimming, and the potential is still there today. The potential of our river is a special tourism area where you have clean water. And you can also move from there to the bank, to the other bank. And the other bank, you have special island at the other side of it. The island is so good for visitors to come and see. There are some special mangrove trees that grow in it, and there are some special monkeys you can find in those areas. So in the past, you can cross to the other bank of the island, to the other bank of the river, which contains the island. So these are potential areas in our traditional council we want to develop. So in fact, we held a meeting that how can we develop the potential of the tourism in that island. It's a special island with potential for development. Apart from our river bank that is very great. So these are tourist area that we hope to develop in the future. You will recall when I started this interview that we are basically farmers. We farm cassava, yam. These are the main vegetable food we produce here. But with time, school came up. I will now have educated people. Now we also have many industries growing up in this kingdom. We have palm, oil palm, rubbers. Oh, very good. We have oil palm, we have rubber, we have timber. I told you when we started. So apart from food crops of cassava and yam, we have oil. Many of our people, they produce oil palm. We also have rubber. In fact, we have a rubber factory behind the palace here. In those days, our children go to tap rubber. Very early in the morning, you see them as early as Friday, and they are at tap rubber. So we used to collect this rubber. We used to have rubber factories. Apart from this one, we have other rubber factories this place, but they have now given way to the tank farm. So basically, our mainstay in the past are the rubber, palm oil processing, and we also produce what we call palm wine. Our people go to produce palm wine. We enjoy the palm wine very well. Those days, when you go to the shop, see where they sell palm wine, we enjoy it. One of the delicacies you enjoy when you come to Ogara. Palm wine is also one of the things we produce. Of course, like every other place, the taboo that related people should not marry. People are related. Even if you are first cousin, you should not marry. That is it. But our marriage tradition is that a man and a wife, we are not engaged in two men marrying. It's a taboo here. So we only marry a man and a woman. That's our marriage culture here. Modern culture where they close all these are big taboos here. And of course, related people don't marry. We don't discriminate against people who come to take our wives, our daughters. So if our daughter likes any man from anywhere, we are open. Both European or everybody, they come, we are open to marry. So also our men, we encourage them to marry. But we are happier when our children marry themselves because we preserve the bond and the tradition. And our marriage is it's not a small token. What is important is that each of them should like themselves. We are not in a kingdom where we charge high price for our daughter. We don't. We encourage them that to marry just a little token of money. They come together. What is important? The two families must come together, witness the marriage. The token of money, I think 600 pounds now, it has changed a little. With time it changed. It used to be 12 shillings, but with time it has changed now. I think the highest now is about 600, 1,200 naira. That is the bride price that you pay. So when you pay, what is important is that two of them should come together. We don't say you come and marry a daughter and pack a lot of money. No. Two of you. We expect also when our son go to marry, it should be similar thing. But if our son go to other places, the charge will try to pay to them. But here, people come to marry a daughter, they are happy. What is important is that let them be loved between two of them. That's what we do in our marriage. Yes, we strictly abhor adultery. And such thing happen. It's a big crime in our community. We have special sanction for it. Even to the extent times, we may dissolve the marriage on account of adultery. It's as bad as that. So that's why our married women here, they are very conscious. But if we do it, although they have some sacrifice, but in extreme cases, we don't tolerate it. It's not for women. But our men, when you talk of adultery, we only think of women on the other side. Unfortunately, our men are able to marry more than one wife. That is the tradition here. It's only the women that are not allowed to marry more than one wife. That is the only thing here. But our men, we allow them, our tradition, to marry more than one wife. And we try to encourage them to love the women equally. Yeah, if you look historically, the belief of Urhobo people and Ogara people has been changing over time. In the past, during legislation, people think twins are evil. They kill twins. It used to happen like that here. But time has changed that culture. In the past, when women born during delivery, they think it's evil. But things are changing to modern time. We don't see those things are evil any longer. Our culture is not different from what old African culture used to be. They are evolving and it's changing. So today, if people die during delivery, we don't see it as evil. It's been happening everywhere. The society has come to know it's a scientific phenomenon that things can go wrong. So many of us are Christians these days, and we are following Christianity and education. Education has opened us to new awareness, and that's what Ogara is going through now. We encourage people to have their various meetings. We don't dictate to them. We know there are some people who have their own association, they call it meeting. They hold their meeting, they know how they take care of themselves and recognize themselves. They have a way they contribute resources to themselves, and yearly they celebrate themselves and they help themselves. Those meetings, they abound in Ogara. But it's not something that is controlled or recognized by the kingdom. We do not, but we allow them to associate according to their wish. We have women meeting, they have a purely male meeting, they have a combination of male and female meetings and associations, and they have their own rules and regulations. Ogara is large, and they have their own dialect. Yes, Ogara has its own unique dialect, even different from our neighbor here in Jesse. When Ogara man speak, the dialect and the way pronunciation is different from Jesse. But the original language of Ogara is that of Akbara, where history said we migrated from. But even there, our own dialect still have some, the pronunciation is a little bit different from the root of Akbara, where we are said to have migrated from. So we have our own way of pronouncing certain things, quite different from our neighbor Jesse and Mosuka. And of course, different from Ukwe, different from Uye, different from Alaja. Yes, we have our own. Over time, in those days, the chief priest, when there was interregnum, used to be the person they look onto as king. Up till now, we still have chief priests, but they don't have enormous role they play any longer. The chief priest position is still there. The chief priests still go to Ogwedio, the two Ogwedio, they have chief priests for them, and they play their own role, but not the role they used to play when there was no king. They're still there now, the chief priest is there. And of course, chiefs believe in their own culture today. So many of the chiefs, they are not Christians. So they don't so much believe in the role of the chief priest. But they say, give to Caesar what is Caesar and to God what is God. That's what we do. Okay. For me, I am a Christian. I believe in God. That when the chief priest come here, they say they come home. I said, well, the chief priest is here, give to him. That's what I do. Because that is a part of the community. That's it. Baptist Church. Yes, the first church, and it's located in Ogana Kingdom is located in one place called Ovadi. Ovadi, that's where my ancestors come from. I am from Ovadi extraction. So the first church is the Baptist church. It is over 100 and something years now. Yes, that's it. Ovadi. And since then, other churches has sprung up. Unfortunately, they are not here now. That's why we are trying to set up an art gallery that we will put our previous ruler. They are not here now. Even the one I have, I don't know whether it's handy. I have one here. We have two other past traditional rulers. This is a challenge. I want to ask the PG to quicken action. We are trying to set up a library. When you call like this, you can go to. Maybe my predecessor is here. This is the one for my predecessor. This Oreki. I'm just following this one. The one before Oreki is not here now, but we have it somewhere. But it's a good thing. This is a challenge to you. We set up this work quickly.
Okay.